the polarized mind and business strategy. So this is about the polarized mind. And it's a subject that I've been thinking about and working on a lot. But I was relieved to find an article on the web by two authors who I will name in a moment, who I thought were saying it quite well. So I thought I'd borrow their words. Now, the two authors are Kirk, Schneider, and Mosen. One is an American psychologist, and the other is from Iran, and he is also a psychologist. And they have written a book called The Polarized Mind, Why It's Killing Us and What We Can Do About It, in 2013. So it's been around for quite a while. It's just not been in my orbit. But when I found the article on Scientific American, which was dated April the 16th, 2019, I was quite excited. Okay. So the article was named Today's Biggest Threat, the Polarized Mind. And I'm going to come on to how this works out in business strategy, but I'm going to use their particular story first. They say, as psychologists concerned with the social and psychological basis of human destructiveness, and as dedicated observers of history, we have arrived at the conclusion that so much of what we call human depravity, brackets evil, seems to be based on a principle termed the polarized mind. The polarized mind is the fixation, this is their definition, the polarized mind is the fixation on a single point of view to the utter exclusion of competing points of view. And it has caused more human torment and misery than virtually any other factor. It has caused more human torment and misery than virtually any other factor. And they come up with a solution. Well, they say, are we going to stick our head in the sands and ignore what's actually taking place, ignore the divisiveness and the persistent cycle of human devitalization? Or are we going to consider the findings of our hard-won psychological, spiritual, and philosophical disciplines and face the wounds that beset us? So just a little bit more about them. Their solutions are conversational and relational. And that's just worth bearing in mind, because I'll come back to. Now, I have, in my own development, had to come to terms with the polarized mind. I have a mind or a brain that can polarize. Everybody has that particular ability. We all have that ability to say black or white, up or down, forward or backward, yes or no. Those are good examples of polarization. In my definition, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not using their definition. But why it's killing us and what we can do about it, their solution, which I really did like, which involves conversation and relationships, their solution was on quite a big scale. They want to have a public, in America, they want a public works program so that we can progress human civility. And that was the bit that helped me, because I work in business and I often come across situations where there is a polarization. And we will often use techniques that are conversational and relational. And why we use those techniques is because they can work. But I have often felt slightly frustrated that business education gets off at the wrong stop on the train. So if there are 7 stops on the journey to being a super executive, if you like, whatever that means, if there are 7 stops on the journey, most of the class is getting off at station number 6. They reach this place called the polarized mind, and then they don't have the tools and techniques in general, en masse, to go across the bridge to the next station stop which is station number 7. And that station is called the new mind. Now, those station stops do exist. There is a skill missing from the business lexicon, which takes us from the polarized mind to the new mind. And I think myself that if I could find a way for all the business schools to take this seriously and recognize that the business education doesn't take us far enough. In fact, it's not really just business education. This is like a human skill. And I just happen to work in business. And I happen to see the destructiveness of the polarized mind, as well as the creativity of the new mind. And we have the skills, they exist. I'm not the only one. Many people have studied other modalities to find the way of crossing the bridge from the polarized mind to the new mind. And I encourage you to take that into account.